Two historic programs will meet at one of the most historic venues in all of college football for a spot in the national championship. Number 4, Alabama. Number 1, Michigan. At the Rose Bowl, the first college football playoff semifinal game of the year. And guys, it does not get any better than this. You could not have drawn up a better playoff semifinal game. So will it be Alabama, who snuck into the college football playoff? Will it be the Crimson Tide that makes it to the national championship? Or will it be Michigan that finally gets over the hump, finally wins a playoff semifinal game after losing each of the last two, that finally gets back to the national title for the first time since the 1990s? That's what we're here to break down today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Ready to break down the Rose Bowl, the college football playoff. It's finally here. Alabama and Michigan. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on the gridironexpert.com. We're giving you every single spread pick for every single bowl game. There's still plenty left. And in that package, you get every NFL playoff game spread pick as well. So do not miss out on that, guys. Some of the best picks in the entire country through our holiday special for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. It's never too late to sign up. It's never too early to sign up. Go check it out. All the details, again, over on the gridironexpert.com. Win big with us and become a member of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at this game, guys. This is going to be absolutely spectacular. I mean, you've got the dynasty in Alabama. Many people thought it was dead, called it dead, which was ridiculous. Back in the playoff after missing out last year, taking on Michigan, who has been in the college football playoff each of the last 2 years, but failed to make the national championship, losing to Georgia 2 years ago, losing to TCU in upset fashion last year. And these two teams have met 5 times in their historic histories. I mean, they are two of the best programs in all of college football. 5 times, but never in a game like this. The closest game that you could say from a stakes standpoint would have been that 2000 Orange Bowl, where a young quarterback by the name of Tom Brady led Michigan to a 35-34 victory over the Crimson Tide. This game is absolutely massive for both of these teams. You take a look at the offense. We'll start with Alabama here. Remember when everybody said Alabama was bad? Do you remember back after week 2 that loss to Texas, or that week 3 sputter against USF when they said Alabama doesn't have it, the offense is terrible, they're going to be in for a rough year? Remember that? Yeah, that feels like it was years ago, right? Because offense is clicking, guys, and they're really, really good. Since that really poor performance against USF, where they only won 17-3, the Crimson Tide have scored at least 24 points in the rest of their games, and they've turned the ball over just 7 times in their final 10 games. That's it. Turned the ball over just 7 times in the final 10 games after committing 3 turnovers in their first 3. Saban has turned this team around, and a major reason for the resurgence on offense has been Jalen Milroe. He wasn't all that good in week 2 against Texas. People were criticizing him, but what a year he's had. Over 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. Has thrown just 1 interception in his last 5 games. He's also rushed for over 460 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. So 35 total touchdowns for Jalen Milroe. So elusive, so tough to stop, and has really found himself since being renamed the permanent starter after that USF game. The Crimson Tide, very balanced, over 228 passing yards per game, 172 rushing yards per game. Chase McClellan expected to play in this game, a little bit banged up, over 800 yards on the year. 9 players have at least 100 reception yards, led by Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. This is an Alabama team, guys, that thrives off of balance. They thrive off the ability to have that big play through the air from Jalen Milroe, but also getting the ground game going, not through McClellan necessarily, but also Milroe himself. And that's going to be the key here. Alabama's offense is going to go as Jalen Milroe goes, right? We saw that against Texas. We've seen that in a couple of other close games that Alabama has had. If Jalen Milroe is on fire, Alabama's winning this game, no doubt about it. If he struggles, this game's going to be a lot closer than maybe some think, or maybe they want it to be. So Jalen Milroe is the key entering this game, and his dual threat ability is going to be the key in this game. You take a look at Michigan. This is a team that is kind of the opposite of Alabama, in my opinion. You look at this team, they're slow, they are methodical, but they are efficient. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Michigan's offense is bad, because they're not. They're only averaging 380.5 yards per game. That's 70th in the entire country. That's average. That's right in the middle. 218 passing yards per game. That's 73rd in the country. 161.8 rushing yards per game. That's 61st in the country. The stats are not eye-popping. They're not the flashiest offense, not the best offense in the country, but they're still averaging over 36 points per game and have scored at least 24 points in all 13 of their games and have scored at least 30 points in 11 of the 13 games that they've played. J.J. McCarthy, say what you want to say about him. He's not the best quarterback in the country, but he's efficient. He takes great care of the football. Over 2,600 yards on the year, completing over 74% of his passes, 19 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Blake Corum was banged up and injured in last year's playoff run. He's back fully healthy, over 1,000 yards on the year, 24 rushing touchdowns. They've got 3 players that have at least 500 reception yards, and Roman Wilson, Colston Loveland, their tight end, and Cornelius Johnson. Again, this is not a team that's flashy. This is not a team that owns the wide receiver edge and the speed edge. Alabama has that over Michigan, but they can wear you down. You take a look at Michigan. One thing that people aren't talking enough about is their time of possession. This is the team that can slowly and methodically march down the field and limit the opponent's possessions. I mean, you look at this. Go back to the Ohio State game. A 14-play touchdown drive that took up 6 minutes and 51 seconds. A 13-play field goal drive at the end of the game that took up 7 minutes of clock in the fourth quarter and gave Ohio State just one last chance to go win the game, and they failed to do so. Michigan can chew up the clock and dominate the time of possession. They've won the time of possession battle in 11 of their 13 games. And if they can do that against Alabama and limit the amount of opportunities Jalen Milroe has to go down there and score, Michigan's going to be looking really, really good because their defense is absolutely phenomenal. So Michigan's got the offense that can score. They've got the offense that can move the ball. Are they as sexy as Alabama? Are they as flashy and fast as Alabama? No, but they can be as effective. Take a look at Alabama, their defense. How do you stop Michigan, right? How do you find a way to make sure that the Wolverines don't dominate you up front, don't dominate that time of possession? Well, listen to this. Since week 3, since that game against USF, which after that game seemed to be the turning point for the Crimson Tide, the most points Alabama has allowed is 28, and that was in a 14-point victory over LSU. They held every other opponent the rest of the way to 27 points or less. It's been a pretty dominant last 2 quarters or two-thirds of the season. It's been a really dominant performance from Alabama's defense. They're 19th overall, just allowing 313 yards per game, 188 through the air, 124 on the ground. And that's what I'm doing about Alabama here, is I'm trying to make sure that I don't allow Blake Corum in Michigan to run against me. We know it can be done. You know, you go look at that Iron Bowl. Auburn ran all over Alabama. The Crimson Tide could not stop it. And had they not converted on that crazy 4th and 31 play, we wouldn't even be talking about this game. So it can be done. Teams can run effectively and efficiently against Alabama. And that's what Michigan's going to try to do, is try to establish the run up front, kind of like they did against Penn State, where the Wolverines only attempted 1 pass in the second half. They just bullied Penn State up front. Alabama will not get bullied. But if you are Alabama, you need to find a way to contain that run game and force J.J. McCarthy to win the game solely through the air. Force him to beat you with the wide receivers that are nowhere near as fast as Alabama's wide receivers, and wide receivers that might struggle against Alabama's secondary, a secondary that has forced 12 interceptions this year. So can they force J.J. McCarthy into mistakes? Can Michigan's wide receivers win those one-on-one battles against guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry? Can that happen for Michigan? That's the key if you're Nick Saban, Alabama. Stop the run, contain it, make it ineffective, make it non-existent, force McCarthy to win it solely through the air, and rely on your secondary, which some would say has the edge over Michigan. Take a look at the Wolverines. They have an electric defense, guys. They're number 2 overall defense in the country. That's a reason they're undefeated, the Big Ten champions. The offense has done their job, but their defense is probably the bigger reason for that. 239.7 yards per game. That's all they're allowing. And look, I know they haven't played as tough of a schedule as Alabama, right? I get that. Life in the SEC, significantly tougher than that of Michigan's in the Big Ten. You know, Michigan's toughest tests were Penn State and Ohio State. They won both of those games, but outside of that, everything else was practically a cakewalk. But still, holding teams to under 250 yards per game on average is pretty dang impressive. Only 152 through the air, only 87 on the ground. So this is a dangerous, dangerous Michigan defense. And again, in those 2 toughest games against Penn State and Ohio State, both of which are playing in New Year's Six Bowl games, the Wolverines held Penn State in Happy Valley to just 15 points and 74 passing yards. And against Ohio State, held that Buckeyes offense, loaded with NFL talent, to just 24 points, forced 2 turnovers, and allowed just 107 rushing yards. They had 33 sacks on the year. They forced 24 turnovers on the year, 16 of those being through the air on interceptions. If they can contain Jalen Milroe, if Michigan can contain Jalen Milroe and force him to win the game through the air, the Wolverines have got a shot. Because yes, Alabama does own the wide receiver edge. They've got the speed on the outside, unlike Michigan. But if you don't allow Jalen Milroe to beat you on the ground, picking up second and third down conversions with his legs, if you contain him in the pocket and limit his running ability, you've got a very good chance to win this game. And it's tough to account for that. It's tough to account for those dual threat quarterbacks. But Michigan's defense has proven they could do it all year long. They've been stingy and one of the best in the country all year long. If they come ready to play and contain Milroe, they have got a very good chance to win this Rose Bowl. So what's going to happen, guys? This game, massive, massive, massive. Winner to the national championship to play either Washington or Texas. And that prediction coming out later today. Both these games are tough to pick, right? This is a fantastic 14 playoff. Both these games should be absolutely phenomenal. This one, arguably, maybe the best that there's going to be, and probably the toughest game to pick, I would say. You've got the greatest coach of all time, and Nick Saban, with a month to prepare, going up against a Michigan team that's been so dominant all year long. But ultimately, guys, I've got to go with what I said in the preseason. My preseason pick to win it all was the Michigan Wolverines. And I'm not going to change that now. I think this game is very, very close, and I will not be shocked in the slightest if Alabama wins this game. But I'm going to give the edge to the Wolverines, who have faced so much adversity all year long, who have continued to defy the odds, who continue to play dominant football. I believe they contain Jalen Milroe. I believe they force him into at least one turnover, which the Wolverines then capitalize off of. I believe the Wolverines do own and win the time of possession, limiting the amount of opportunities Alabama has to go score. Michigan wins a very, very close and relatively low-scoring game in the Rose Bowl. And Michigan, the Wolverines, will be back in the national championship. Finally, after missing out each of the last 2 years and going through years and years of turmoil, the Wolverines will be back playing for a national title. The question now is, will it be against Texas or will it be against Washington? But regardless, we are in for an instant classic on New Year's Day. But we're siding with the Wolverines to end Alabama's magical run. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks, a holiday special there for you. Do not miss out on that. Some of the best picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 5 years. It's never too late to sign up. It's never too early to sign up. Go take advantage of it. Again, the link down in the description below, thegridironexpert.com. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.